Welcome again. This is our second podcast for the afternoon, at least here in Australia. I'm Anthony Greffer, and we have Chris Smith with us today. We're going to be talking to you about the world of technology and the wonderful things that it does for us. We're going to start off with maybe one of the bigger stories that we've got to talk about, the NVIDIA GTX Titan 2. This is just a rumor. Again, we don't know if it's true. We don't know when this is coming. We have no other information apart from a couple of benchmark slides from ChipHell. But supposedly the the GeForce GTX Titan 2 was benchmarked against the Radeon R9 390X. As well as the 380X. And the GeForce GTX Titan 2 is going to be arriving as the GM200 core, which is supposedly a cut-down version with less streaming processors and less CUDA cores. So it'll be interesting to see what the full version will have, whether we see this GM200 be the GTX 980 Ti, while the full fat version, which is what they're calling it, with all the CUDA cores enabled, being the full Titan 2. But we see it being the Titan 2 being a little bit faster than the Fiji XT, with the Fiji XT being the Radeon R9 380X. But inside of that, the two new Radeon cards, the 380X and the 390X, actually have much more improved power consumption. So the R9 290X will use about 275 to 300 watts of power for a single card under Battlefield 4 in this testing at 2560 by 1440, while the new 380X uses around 225 watts, which is a good drop. It's not as low as the sub 200 that the GTX 980 does, but it's a good drop. Will you be buying a couple of these, Chris?
Do you think that I'll ask you a counter question. Do you think that people really matter that much about a small power drop when they're looking to buy 4 of these cards anyway? When they're going to be buying a 1.5K?
But I think if you're buying a smaller system like a mini ATX or a micro ATX, yes, because not only is it the power draw, it's the heat output. If you're only putting out 200 watts of power like a GTX 980 does, the heat output on that is insane. So you can go to smaller cards, you can go to single fan, you can go to 2 big fans or 3 big fans and make it even quieter again. And it also allows the OEMs to crank it. They can overclock so much on the card and bring out cards that are 30% faster and still only consume as much power as the stock cards from the other company do.
Yep. Yeah, because I think that's going to be one of the most commonly asked questions about, the people who are watching who aren't exactly aware, the power consumption does actually make a difference. It's not about necessarily being eco, green, hugging trees and that kind of stuff. It does actually make a difference there and then straight in your case, especially when you want to put 2 or 3 of those together, or 4 290s like you've got sent the other day, crazy ones. Sitting in the background actually of your camera.
I thought I'd just put that there and see if anyone can see. So
just stack them all.
I was going to, but the camera won't go up that high. I think you'd only see about 3. So
put a picture of like a photo of Gaben in front of it or something. I'm sure you'll hit the right front page. But no, it looks interesting because I've written a couple articles about AMD versus NVIDIA and releases and power consumption, etc. recently. And the AMD, I don't know if it's just the NVIDIA fanboys being logged onto Facebook at that time, but I remember posing some questions. How do you guys find AMD, being dominated, in the sales market and stuff in America this year and in the latest quarters? How do you find AMD going into the future? Do you think these kind of cards that they're releasing with the their advanced power-saving techniques that AMD are going for across CPUs and GPUs will be their savior, or do you follow the negativity that some of these guys are saying? And
half and half. Maybe half and half. I think everyone's going to be going away from the massively powerful graphics cards because we're seeing the efficiency between games really not scaling that well. Like you can have a brand new card and still not get 1080p 60 FPS, which is ridiculous. But I think AMD are working on other things. Like we've got a story that we're going to be talking about pretty much next. So we can actually talk about this now. So I do believe that AMD will come back. Maybe they won't compete directly against NVIDIA right now, but I think that the 390X is going to be a kick-ass card. I don't know if NVIDIA are expecting it, but I think NVIDIA are so much better prepared this time versus the Fermi, which is the GTX 400 series, and they've come back so strong. Like GTX 580 was good, GTX 680 was even better. The 780 and 780 Ti were great GPUs, and GTX 900 series is probably the best that NVIDIA's ever done. While AMD has been sitting really, really well with the R9 200 series, 290 series, like 290, 290X.
Yep.
But the 390X, I think, will compete with NVIDIA directly on a hardware level, but AMD have been lagging behind considerably in the software side, like drivers and support and features, which is what NVIDIA really unleashed with Maxwell. But AMD, we just reported a couple of hours ago, it's just pretty much breaking news that there's something coming out called dynamic frame rate control, or DFRC. So dynamic frame rate control will allow gamers to actually lock their frame rate at something like 60 frames per second. Which is great. So say that's a Radeon R9 290X 8 gig back there. So again, I'll be running probably 2 of those in my systems from now on, just for the 8 gig of VRAM, and something like that. So say you've got one of those, or just say you've got an R9 290X 4 gig, so the one just below that model, and you're playing a game, say like League of Legends or Counter-Strike Source, a game where you can do 1080p or 1440p and just get like 400 frames a second. Your video card is rendering 400 frames a second no matter what. So you can do VSync and stuff like that, but your card's still doing a lot of computation in the background. But this dynamic frame rate control is a really, really new, exciting, very intelligent new piece of software, because if you're able to lock your frame rate at 60 frames a second, the video card will most likely be dynamically adjusting clock speeds. So you might get up to, say, 60 FPS and be at, say, 400 megahertz, but the ceiling is 1,100 megahertz. So it might go up. So during, say, a scene where there's not much graphics being rendered, so say Team Fortress 2, when you're running through an inside tunnel, you might not be rendering that much. Your graphics clock speed might go from 1100 down to 200 or 300 megahertz, and then when you come out of that, it will dynamically adjust to 400 or 500, and then when there's heaps of rockets and flames flying at you, it might go up to 700 or 800. So not only is it keeping the performance probably better at 60 FPS, the power savings is going to be huge. Because, again, like we were talking about before, power savings being something important. Maybe yesterday it wasn't, but today it is. With that kind of or not an announcement, with that tease, that is something that will make waves, which is why I said I was so excited about it in the news. Because if you're able to have a card that has a 225 or 250 watt TDP, and you've got a 60 frames per second lock, you might be pulling 225 at 100% clock speeds, but when it drops down to 50 or 60, you're actually going to save 100 watts of power for every second that you're gaming, which is huge. So if you're sitting there playing League of Legends for 4 or 5 hours straight, your power bill might have been, say, $15 in Australia, for example, $15 for that time, but going down to 6 or 7 is going to be a big change for gamers.
Yeah, and I mean, most new games these days, unless they're Ubisoft related or developed by Valve, you can't cap the FPS yourself. Like, you know, CS:GO, for example, which is a very esports developer-based game. Or you could almost say basically any game that isn't esports you can't cap, because, you know, CS:GO you can cap your FPS, and most people do that for exactly that same kind of reason. You know, in CS:GO I cap my FPS. Generally it's, say, like 150 just to be safe. You know, because then it's never going to drop below that. I'm running a 120 hertz monitor. I'm going to get enough frame rates. You know, it's going to be perfectly fine. But yeah, this is great that it does it dynamically. It's just hope that it's going to work as effectively as we think it will, and be able to change, you know, quickly.
Maybe it will launch with the next generation GPUs, like with the Fiji, like Pirate Islands kind of graphics cards, like the 300 series, like the 390X. I'm guessing it will launch and maybe be directly tied into the hardware, so it can. I'm only guessing and speculating right now that it will most likely dynamically adjust directly into the architecture of the GPU, which would be absolutely amazing. If AMD can pull that off, they could pretty much maybe even package the games with the card and go, okay, if you buy, say, Battlefield 4 with a R9 390X, they could write on the box. Because again, no matter what CPU, they could do this. They could go. We could guarantee 1080p 60 FPS because we can throttle the frame rate at that spec. So they could actually, like, again. So imagine in a world like we're talking about this before with the game podcast. Imagine if you're able to. This is where I see the world going in 2 or 3 years. Is that you're going to be able to buy a Steam box, and they're going to be able to guarantee, or not guarantee, but very close to guarantee you what frame rate and resolution you're going to run. So if we're already seeing the tease of dynamic frame rate control, we're also going to have resolution control soon. This is something that I talked about in an editorial a while ago. I don't know why you can't set in your drivers a target that you want. So maybe I have a 1080p monitor and 60 frames, 60 hertz. Oh no, let's say I've got a 1080p monitor with 120 hertz. I want to constantly have 120 frames a second, but if my resolution is 1920 by 1080, I'm not going to hit 120 frames a second all the time. But if my resolution was to be dynamically adjusting the whole time, like adjusting the whole time, and maybe like you wouldn't notice it, but the rendering would go from rendering this much, it would render this much, but then output it at 1080p. So if they were able to do that, you'd be able to have on the back of a package for a graphics card, or even a game. If you were to buy this video card, you could run it at 1080p, 60 FPS, guaranteed. And Valve could have a marketing field day with that kind of stuff. You know, buy Half-Life 3, and for a $300 video card, you're 100% guaranteed from the manufacturer and 100% guaranteed from the game developer to have that 1080p 60 target, or 4K 30, or 1080p 120, or 1440p 60. It's I think that's exciting. Like going into 2015, I wasn't that super keen, apart from the architectural kind of change, like between GPUs, but that stuff, dynamic frame rate control, that's great news. That's absolutely great news. And
I know how massive Apple fanboys all of our TweakTown readers and fans are, but you know it follows the same aspect of why they have the it just works kind of thing. The same kind of stuff. Like you said, if you can buy something and it's guaranteed to do this and this and this and that, and it can guarantee you to be able to run a game at a smooth frame rate because of the stuff that's pre-installed in there, that's perfect. And you can guarantee it from a processor level, from a GPU level, from a freaking case manufacturer level. Someone like Corsair or Thermaltake could say, buy this case and it'll help you get this FPS in this game, because they can guarantee that, and that's exactly what you want. You get stability, and people want. That's exactly what people want.
And I think that would bring the PC market. People are worried that the console market is too simplified, and that it is great that the PC market can't catch up to that, but it can. All you need are these little things, like you look at next year, Oculus Rift is going to come out, and you're already seeing, like I talked about this about a year ago, that you're going to see powered by Oculus hardware. So they're going to come along and be the developer and the hardware manufacturer, but they're also going to help other companies. So they're helping Samsung with Gear VR. It's an Oculus powered VR device. So again, if you were to have a Steam powered device, and you could have them go, okay, like again, you buy a $2 or $3 video card and guarantee you to get that frame rate, because the guarantee isn't on the developer side, it's on the hardware side. They can go to AMD and they can scale all their stuff and go, okay, well, we've made a graphics engine that scales around AMD's architecture, so it's 100% guaranteed to smack 60 FPS and hit there all the time and constantly stay there. That's a big thing for marketing. That would completely change PCs from like I said, from top to bottom, from RAM case manufacturers to right up to GPUs, because you're able to go buy this product and we guarantee you this performance. And when you start, we were talking about in the game podcast just before, about Metro Redux being done on Linux. Linux is even better because the graphics cards, the API gets closer to the metal. So instead of DirectX taking up a big portion of the graphics runtime, you're actually able to get that down much more. So instead of 10 or 12% being used to DirectX, you can get down to 1 or 2%. So you're gaining effective 10% extra performance. And if you can mix that with guaranteed performance, that's huge. Like Linux API or Linux and different APIs with guaranteed 1080p 60 FPS with next generation GPUs, that's something to get excited about.
Yeah, it's like putting the best of console and best of PC together. If you buy a console, you're going to be able to buy a game for that console. You'll plug it in and it'll work. Whereas PC, is my CPU good enough? Oh, not quite. Oh, my graphics card. Oh, I need the next series. Oh, I need to do this. Oh, I need 8 gig of RAM. No, not anymore. Works.
I think that's exciting. That's something to look forward to. Is that kind of stuff. I think AMD are definitely on the right track. But yeah, we'll definitely have to see.
Yeah, and I feel like people who watch this are a bit more enlightened to it as well, because if you look at that headline right at the start, it doesn't really stand out at you necessarily. Cool, I'll save power, but they don't. I think unless somebody actually takes a second to look into it or get explained to them like we have, I don't think they understand exactly how in depth and how good this news actually is.
I think obviously if you guys want to hear more about that, I think that's actually worth its own kind of like talk. It's probably like maybe a tease of what to expect for GPUs next year. But for something like that, yeah, people can get excited, because even the cheaper cards, like maybe the $200 cards, they'll benefit from that stuff as well. If you're a League of Legends gamer and you can lock in 60 FPS, or you're a Counter-Strike Go gamer or World of Warcraft, like games that don't require mass amounts of GPU power. Locking that frame rate in is going to be huge. Moving on to Samsung news. So Samsung have just, over the last couple of months, obviously had their Galaxy S5 hit the market, which is their latest flagship smartphone. But it looks like the company is already moving on. There's latest rumors pegged Samsung to be announcing the Galaxy S6 at CES, which is only a little under 3 weeks away in Las Vegas. Now, there are a couple of people expecting that Samsung are going to announce 2 new smartphones, a sequel or at least a successor to the Galaxy Note Edge, which is the smartphone with the Edge display on it. But the Galaxy S6 should hopefully feature an 8-core processor, a 5.5-inch QHD or 2560 by 1440 panel, 3 gig of RAM, and 32 gig of flash storage. We should expect some new cameras to be placed around. If there was a Galaxy S6, I'm hoping that they use Sony's new sensor, which is super impressive. But other than that, I don't think Sony can do much. They've already promised that they're going to be cutting down their smartphone offerings going into 2015, but then talking about the Galaxy S6, and I know it's not them talking about it, but just the rumors starting of it, it feels like it's too early. Like, it feels that's way too early to be talking about it.
Yeah, they're really just trying to recover ground after their, in quotation marks, failure of the S5. Maybe, just quickly release something and forget about it, or maybe they're going to an Activision one release per year kind of thing.
I mean, it's too early. It really is too early. It's just, I think if they were to do the Galaxy S6, I really want to see them try to but try to at least stomp on the Nexus 6 and offer a Samsung Galaxy S6 with stock Android. That will impress people like me, or people, technology enthusiasts. I don't want to go buy a Samsung phone because of the crappy user interface that they've got. I just don't touch it. I use a Sony Xperia Z2. But I would love to see Samsung really compete, and if they wanted to compete against Apple, drop the prices, make a loss on some of the phones. The bill of material on these things is only $200 or under $200. Release them for $399. Could you imagine how well a stock Galaxy S6, stock Android Galaxy S6 for $399 outright would do? That would change everything. Like, Apple wouldn't be able to compete with that because their cheapest phone is double that price.
Yeah. Especially like the S4, for example. My friend bought it on release from Samsung store, 1.1K, and then I bought it, 10, 11 months later, October 31st for $400 retail. With that amount of crazy drop in there, what's stopping them from releasing it for even $600 off the bat?
Yeah, that's right. Even just $599. Like, they release them at about that price, but maybe do $599 with 128 gig of storage. Just blow Apple away. 128 gig of storage with 128 gig SD card capable. That would actually be exciting. But I don't think Samsung are doing it. It'll just be yet another handset that looks pretty much similar to the Galaxy S5, which looks similar to the Galaxy S4, which looks similar to the Galaxy S3. It just continues. They blame Apple for not having any innovation, but then Samsung have been doing the same thing for the last couple of years.
Yeah, I feel like they're turning kind of into Toyota. Just release the Corolla again and again and again. But the Corolla's really good. At least they got something good to start off with, right?
Yeah. But speaking about exciting and innovative stuff, Oculus have had a couple of big announcements during the week. They have acquired, they acquired a hand tracking company, Nimble VR, which are on Kickstarter. They work on hand tracking, so you can actually see your hands within the VR world, which is kind of cool. I've always said, I said it in an editorial, that I see Oculus releasing maybe even Razer or TT Esports, maybe a year or two when they start actually seeing that VR is going to be big, releasing like VR gloves. So you'd have obviously a camera that was capturing, let's say this webcam, you'd have another camera that's capturing the content. And then you'd be able to just have gloves. So instead of having a plastic gun that you'd have or like a mechanical gun, you could just aim, like that. And that would pretend that you would have a gun, or you'd hold it like this and you'd look like you've got a sword, or you'd hold it like this and it looks like you've got a machine gun, or like that and you've got a rocket launcher. If they were to do that kind of stuff, that's where VR's going. Oculus wouldn't be acquiring Nimble VR if it was nothing. That excites me. Oculus acquiring a company like that for hand tracking, that's cool. Like, they're spending money wisely instead of just acquiring crappy companies for no reason.
Yeah, definitely. You can tell which direction they're going as well, which is really cool following the Oculus story. They seem to be making decisions that not only make sense, but publicizing them for the right reasons. And they're saying, they're basically they're like yelling, but whispering at the same time. Hey guys, this is what we're doing. And keeping everybody in touch with it. And it's like a story you can follow. I feel like Oculus is almost like a hero in a main story. The main story is your life, and Oculus is the hero. You can follow the Oculus hero along through storyline and see what he's doing.
Yeah, because they're this little guy that's come along, and they've got so much behind them, without even releasing a product to the public. Like, you can't. People go, oh, but I've tried the DK1 and it's not that great. I've tried DK2 and I can still see the screen door effect. You've got to remember that's like testing a beta piece of software and making a final judgment on it. You can't do that. I've got the DK2 up on my shelf behind this webcam. I've got the DK1 put away. I don't consider them final pieces of software. It's like beta testing a game and then making my judgment. That game sucks. Or watching a movie in post-production and then going, nope, these special effects are crap. You've got months and months and months. Like, even when this comes out, it's not like it's going to be Oculus Rift is here and then that's it, and then expecting it to be the best. They're going to have an Oculus Rift 2 or an Oculus Rift 4K or an Oculus Rift Pro or an Oculus Rift HD. There's going to be so many releases into the future. They're not just going to release one product. It's going to be, maybe the first one will just be head tracking and motion tracking, and then Oculus Rift 2 will have hand tracking and body tracking, and Oculus Rift 3 will be, no screen door effect, 8K effective resolution, 120 hertz refresh. There's so many steps that they can go. It's going to be absolutely huge. So, Chris, you have someone at your door. I will handle the next story if you want to go handle that. So Oculus Rift, Oculus VR handled another deal during the week with Runtastic. So they're a workout fitness kind of startup. So Oculus are going to be working directly with Runtastic for virtual worlds. So you're going to have like a virtual reality workout, I should say, and you'll be able to say, I choose to have a workout at the beach, or I choose to have a workout on the moon, or I choose to have a workout in the middle of the ocean somewhere. That's going to be really, really cool that you're going to be able to do that kind of stuff. So VR is, a lot of people think virtual reality is for gaming, but virtual reality isn't just for gaming. For something like fitness, I'm not the most fittest guy in the world. Obviously, I have massive guns. I could probably fight at least anyone that came against me. But you can see the application can be used. I might not necessarily want to do fitness, but I would love to be able to just go to a place where I can just relax. So you're going to get home from work and you've had a stressful day, or maybe you've had a fight with a friend or a girlfriend or wife, and he's like, no, I just want to get out of here. It's not like you can just jump on a plane and go somewhere, but you can slap on a VR headset, put your headphones on, and you can go sit on the moon, or you could go out and sit on the beach, or you can go out and sit in a forest, you can go out and sit in the clouds, wherever you can go, wherever you can think, wherever someone else has thought for you. But doing a VR workout, it's a unique idea. I think that's something that it might not sell millions and millions of dollars worth of stuff, but it's in the right direction. People may look at this and laugh at VR, like my brother is completely against VR. But then you got to look at the app market. When Apple released the iPhone, no one thought that something like that could take off that well. And look at the app market now; it's worth tens, if not hundreds of billions of dollars. VR will be the same. Facebook didn't dump $2 billion on Oculus for nothing. Oculus is one of the most exciting technologies for PC. Pretty much since the 3D accelerator back in the day, like in the 90s with the 3D effects cards. It's exciting stuff.
Imagine how many Ks people are going to be running in BF7 as well. It's going to be ridiculous.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and in related tech news, actually, at the door, that's my 1080p webcam that has just arrived.
Finally. We're not going to have blocky Chris and shuttery. How's it going, Chris?
Lagging around.
So, next story. Apple have reportedly taken up Samsung as usual for the production of their next generation A9 SoC, or system on a chip. So the A9 chip is what you're going to see Apple use on their next iPhone, we're guessing. We don't know. It could be the next iPad, but most of the flagship A-series processors get used on the new iPhones. So we expected with the iPhone 6 and 6 Plus being released a couple of months ago that Apple wouldn't be releasing a new iPhone until the end of 2015. But it looks like we might actually see something quicker than that. We might see maybe an iPhone 6S, or maybe even just going straight up to the iPhone 7. Maybe in the beginning of next year. We don't know yet. Again, this is not just a rumor, but we know that Samsung are the ones producing the new A9 processor for Apple, mixing it with TSMC. But Samsung are actually doing it in Texas, in Austin, Texas, which is really great to see, because you're seeing Samsung, a South Korean company, supporting an American company by building the chips in America. So maybe the phones might be assembled overseas, but at least one of the most important parts of the phone is being manufactured in the United States, which is really great to hear. Like I love that the production's being done in the US for that.
Yeah, it's definitely interesting. But I think, like you were saying, I think that 6S makes sense. You know, no longer with Apple are we seeing, you know, just one iPhone 3 release, that kind of stuff. You know, seeing the 4, the 4S, seeing the 5, the 5S, the 5C, the 6, the 6 Plus. You know, so it brings some versatility into it, and I think they're doing what Samsung are trying to do in the fact of releasing less models. You know, it makes so much more sense. You see some case manufacturers, for example, you know, like Thermaltake, for example, releasing so many different cases. You know, the A21, the A31, the A41, the A71. Then they've got the T81, the T41. You know, just try to keep it simple, and it makes a lot more sense. But you know, who's the real winner in the end here? Samsung. Samsung's the real winner.
Well, like you're saying about models, there's too much. Like I worked at an IT retailer for 10 years, and again, we were saying we stocked Corsair and Antec and Thermaltake and Silverstone and so many other case manufacturers, and we would choose 3 or 4 of each, because giving the consumers the choice, it's so confusing. It's like if you were to walk into a car yard and offer every model of every car and go, choose. You know, you can't. You can't do that with a case when one manufacturer has 20, the other one has 30, the other one has 20, the other one has 30. It's like, you can't do it. Samsung, like, what's the difference between a Galaxy Note 5, a Galaxy Note 4, and a Galaxy S5, and a Galaxy Note Edge, and a Galaxy Note 3, Galaxy Note 2, and you got so many phones. Yeah, minis as well, and the Megas as well. It's like, why not just release, like, why can't they just do Galaxy S and then 6 Galaxy? I don't even know. They just need to simplify it and just have one Note, one Edge, one S. That's it. Yep. Speaking about South Korean electronics giants, LG are going to be showing off an 8K 55-inch TV at CES 2015 in a couple of weeks' time. So if you don't know the effective resolution of 8K, so 4K is 3840 by 2160. 8K is double that. So you've got 7680 by 4320. Which is just absolutely insane. That's 33.2 million pixels. So pretty much 33.1 more million pixels than the Xbox One and PS4 can do. It's an insane amount of pixels. We're going to be at CES, and I will be going to that screen, and I will be sitting in front of it, completely letting it absorb my entire soul. So expect
shedding a single tear.
Oh, there won't be one single tear. It'll be probably half my body weight in tears. Just my body like in full-on 180 degrees. It'll be amazing.
Fall on your knees praising Gaben.
Yeah, all these other professionals are walking past me. What's this guy's problem? Like, has he never seen 8K before? It's like, no.
I'm in love.
The only problem that I have with that is that 55-inch 8K. Do you know how much that's going to cost to come back into Australia? Like, it's going to be really hard. It's going to be really hard. I'm going to have to obviously try and steal one as I'm walking through CES. So
put it in your pocket.
Just put it in my pocket. It's only 55-inch. I'm used to having something like that in my pants.
Exactly.
So that should be alright.
98-inch 8K prototype will be as well, so that's alright.
Yeah, that'll be nice. I'm looking forward to that as well. That's just an insane screen size. We want to keep these podcasts short, so we've just got a couple more stories. We've got 3 more stories, so we'll start off with the Bose story. So Bose is obviously one of the top-tier audio manufacturers, making speakers and headsets and all that kind of stuff for consumers around the world. But the company has been embroiled in a huge scandal with Apple lately. Their device has been removed from Apple stores. That's another story. I think we covered that a couple of weeks ago. But the latest rumor is that the company is actually working on its own music subscription or music streaming service like Spotify, Pandora, and all that kind of stuff. But it'll be interesting to see if Bose do that. Like, I don't see them being the type of company that would actually release their own music streaming service. What did you think, Chris? Can you see them doing that?
It really smells to me of CEO has idea, CEO makes people do his idea fails, and then that's it. CEO can't get blamed because he's the boss. You can't blame the boss, and that's it. You know, that's what it sounds like to me. It sounds like corporate management, but you know, I mean, in the end, let's be honest. Competing against Spotify and Pandora, if you give me the same music that Spotify gives me for a lower price, yes, I'll change. I don't really care about the interface, how that works, but if you can give me, that, you know, Spotify has plenty enough music for me. There's like a couple of artists I haven't been to listen to, which I wanted to. That's fine. So, you know, but if you can give me the same service for less price, sure, I'll swap over. But, you know, as far as it goes, it's just another streaming service. You know, why bother?
Well, I just don't see how they could do something different to Spotify. Like, I'm absolutely addicted to Spotify. I use it on every single device that I own, my smartphones, tablets, PC, laptop. I love it, and it would take me so much to change. Like, they would pretty much have to come out and offer it to me, maybe for free. That's probably one of the only ways I'd change. I just don't see Bose having the same connections as Apple or even Google, and Apple and Google can't even really compete against Spotify. And Spotify themselves don't make that much money, and I don't see Bose having that much money in their bank accounts to really take losses for months and months and months to make it a viable service.
It's a lot of work, you know. It's a lot of work.
It really is. I just can't see it happening. I just don't see it happening. The second to last story is Lamborghini, not the car brand, but Torino Lamborghini. They have released a new smartphone called the 88 Tori. It's $6,000. $6,000 for a single smartphone. They say that it has a leather finish with angular slabs of steel, if that helps. The 88 Tori smartphone has a 5-inch 1080p display, 2.3 gigahertz Qualcomm Snapdragon 801 processor, 3 gig of RAM, 32 gig of flash storage. So it doesn't really break any records for speed or specs, apart from the finish and the style. And obviously, if you've got more money than sense, you would buy something like this, or if you own a Lamborghini, you would buy one of these. But it's from the son of Ferruccio Lamborghini, who founded the car brand. So it's kind of from Lamborghini, but not. But if you've got $6,000 or you feel like buying one for me and Chris for Christmas, let us know. Our email addresses are on the website. We will very happily take 1 or even 10 of these things for free.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, we have no problems. We're not bribed at all. That would just be a great Christmas present. That's all. So last story. Google have blacklisted 11,000 WordPress sites that were smashed down by the Soak malware. Michael, our amazingly beautiful and handsome San Francisco-based news writer, he wrote that 11,000 domains were taken down and blacklisted by Google because of the new malware campaign which was targeting compromised WordPress websites. He also wrote that it's possible that over 100,000 WordPress-powered sites had been hit by the Soak campaign. But we're going to obviously hear about more of that in the coming days. We only posted this story up less than 18 hours ago now. Security, I think it says security web, Sucuri, S-U-C-U-R-E, not security web. They have come out and offered a free site scanner that will actually check if your WordPress site is compromised. If the site is compromised, you have to locate the code and add a line or two to the code and then purge a suspicious-looking code. So it's not like it's too bad, but it's still a bit of a hassle to go through.
Yeah, I can just hear like some of my coding friends rejoicing from their bedrooms right about now. Some of the old haters of the WordPress. Yeah, I got quite a few of them.
As good as it is, but like being hit like that must not feel good. Like I don't do any software stuff. Hurts my head too much. But yeah, I'd hate to be a coder right now and going through all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, imagine the amount of people who are just getting just destroyed by these websites that have been taken down. Yeah.
Oh, it must not feel good. It must not feel good at all. Like I would hate to have to be responsible for something like that. That's just it's not good at all. Yeah,
especially when it says here, website owners don't even know they have it. Like a lot of the time, it's packaged and bundled into their themes. How are you going to be at it? And it's going to be these poor coders that have been paid like it's $15 an hour because they're a kid in school to code this page for this small business, just getting ripped into. Because
see how easy that you said, it's only $15 an hour. You said that like it was absolutely nothing. But you got to remember, people in the States only can get like $6 an hour, man.
Yeah, that's true. It must be that Australia. Don't worry, guys. In the States, we pay triple for crap internet and chicken and household goods.
Chicken, yeah. Chicken is I just bought 6 chickens for Christmas, man. How much did it cost me? $89. So $14.90 each for a whole chicken.
Yep. Yeah, that's right. It's actually one of my favorite things when I talk to people from around the world, because I do like a bit of fitness and gym kind of stuff. So obviously I have the old boring chicken and rice, and it's one of my favorite things to ask people is how much does chicken cost where you're from? Because here you go into your local Coles or Woolworths, your large name, your large name supermarket, and it'll cost you up to $11 a kilo for chicken, and that's from the deli. That's not even free range stuff. So there you
go. For me, I compare usually Coca-Cola, like a 600 ml bottle. I don't know how many ounces that is. Or like the 2 liter bottles. They're just ridiculously cheap in the States. Like you get like a large Coke. You've been to the States before?
No.
Okay, so like I went there in March, like my first time in March, and went to like just various like restaurants and fast food chains and stuff just to see what it was all like, and tried like a Denny's and stuff like that. And their large Cokes are just ridiculously big, like 2 or 3 times, like not even joking, 2 or 3 times the size of our large ones over here, and it's like $1.50. Wow, like you go buy a large Coke from like McDonald's here, it's like $4. I don't understand. That's like in the States now. What's that? What's $4 in the States? Like that's like $3 ish in the States with the exchange rate. $3.20, $3.30. It's like double the price and more. I went and bought my kids some clothes, like my daughters, and it's just like it was 2 or 3 times cheaper in the States at like Target than it is in Target here. And Target here is actually relatively cheap, but it's just so much cheaper in America. But not that it has anything to do with WordPress, but that's the end of our podcast for the podcast. Chicken, McDonald's, Coke, kids' clothes,
Target.
And Target. Thank you for checking in on our weekly podcast. Please let us know if you want anything changed or if you'd like it. You know what we can tell you to subscribe to TweakTown. If you haven't subscribe. Comment on Facebook. Let us know what you think.
Yep. Thanks for tuning in.
Thank you. Good night.